Oh, okay.
That's a fun gag. Oh wow, they brought it back. That's neat.
I've seen my dad do this.
Huh, okay.
Meme! Meme! Meme!
Yeah, I'm aware, guys. It's a meme, I know.
Do what I do.
Alright, I get it!
Out of its entire 36-season run, it's no surprise that The Simpsons has spawned a plethora of memes. Steam Tams, Old Man Yells at Claude, my personal favorite, The Dud. There's a million of them from all over the series' history. However, the one to consistently worm its way back in some shape or form is without a doubt this simple little gif of Homer backing into a pile of bushes from Season 5, Episode 16's Homer Loves Flanders. Despite the episode airing in 1994, it wasn't until the 2010s and the rise of internet memes for this short clip to be brought back. In GIF form. I don't even know why this history lesson is necessary. I've seen it before, you've seen this before, it's everywhere. T-shirts, shoes, bucket hats. I found a sponge on Facebook Marketplace while writing this video. Again, it's everywhere. This meme had become so huge that years later in the season 30 episode The Girl on the Bus, we even saw the show make a reference to its own current standing in pop culture. Even Homer uses that gif. Got a mixed response. Some folks claiming it to be the first time they'd laughed at the show in years, while others find it to be a lazy way of referencing a gag from the series' golden age in the hopes of reminding you that this show used to make an impact on pop culture. I didn't say that. It made me groan a little bit, not typically a fan of a show doing this sort of thing, but who cares? One and done, there's a million Simpsons episodes, who cares if a single meta joke like this slips through the cracks? And then they did it again. And again, up until the most recent episode where we once again saw the gag make a return, in which they basically just did the same joke again. Said joke being, remember the GIF. It really made me wonder, how is it that The Simpsons could go on for 25 whole seasons without bringing up this gag once? However, nowadays, it seems to be mandatory for at least one callback per season. And first of all, I want to make it clear, this is not a new Simpsons is bad video. Because if you remember from my last video on the subject, most of the new episodes they've been doing have been pretty good, in my opinion at least. But today I wanted to go over the history of this gag, how they've attempted to shoehorn it in as much as possible, why I think that's the case, and if it ever seems like they'll try and stop, as they already gave themselves the perfect setup for a conclusion not that long ago. Either way, let's take a look at the Simpsons joke that will never die. But before getting into that, I wanted to take a moment to tell you about today's sponsor, Honeygian. This video is sponsored by Honeygian. Honeygian is this super cool passive income app. So if you have the internet, then you're already in. I mean, as soon as you sign up, you get $3, so you're already in the green. It works on Windows, Mac OS, Linux, and Android devices, and is a great way to cover small expenses. It's not going to make you the next Mr. Beast or anything, nor what I think people want to be at this point. But hey, even if it pays for your monthly Netflix, Spotify, V-Bucks, whatever, then why not, right? You can earn while you scroll and make the internet work for you. Your unused internet helps businesses with stuff like price comparisons, ad verifications, deal hunting, and much more boring stuff like that. Of course, this sounds too good to be true, right? You know, you were thinking it, I was thinking it, but no. Honeygian is a trusted app with millions of users worldwide making money every day. It has a great score on Trustpilot. Also, you can earn even more through referring friends and getting 25% of what they make. For example, inviting 30 friends can earn up to $75 per month. Again, all you gotta do is register, download the app, and let it run from there. It keeps your data secure and doesn't ask for personal information, it's foolproof. So be sure to sign up with my code LSMARK to get an instant $3. Be sure to click the link in the description below and start earning passive income from today. The brains behind this gag is one David Merkin, inspired by an action that he would oftentimes do as a kid, pretending to dimension hop as he went through the neighborhood hedges. In the Simpsons episode, however, the visual gag is used to exemplify the creepiness beginning to come from Homer's attitude towards Flanders. This being a rare episode where he actually tries to befriend him after having a pleasant time at a football game. It's a good episode, filled with a ton of great moments. I personally love Homer fucking chasing Ned's car down with his frightened family watching in horror. I think what made the Hedge gag stick around though would have to be for the same reason any good meme does. Versatility. It works in a lot of scenarios. Someone says something a little awkward, you reply with this. Big laughs all around. Perhaps you say something a little awkward. Other people then reply with the, okay, that's about it, but on the internet, that's about 95% of the interactions happening on a daily basis. But that was kind of it for the most part. Memes are a dime a dozen, and this was simply yet another to add to the gift set. I think the biggest thing that happened involving it would be being included as a gift shown at the Museum of Moving Images in 2014. That's how you know you've made it. Things changed for the Homer backing up into Bush meme, however, in 2019, as one Caesar Mazariegos joined the Simpsons writing team. According to him, it was his first week on the job as they were shown the already made animatic for the episode The Girl on the Bus. The episode featuring Lisa befriending this girl from a much more cultured family, and beginning to then become embarrassed by her own. One of the ways they convey this is by having her get interrupted by Homer texting, saying that he can't find his phone, to which Lisa obviously replies that he's messaging her from it. Caesar claims that Al Jean Caesar claims that Al Jean, one of the producers on The Simpsons, felt something was missing, and needed some kind of gag at the end to complete the joke. To which he went out on a limb and pitched Homer replying with the famous Hedge gif. Apparently it got a laugh. So much so that they kept it in the episode. It makes a lot of sense this would have come from a younger member on the team, and it's gotta be quite the achievement to get a joke you pitched into the show on your first week. It's one of those things where, on its own, it's harmless. Some might even find it funny. But it risks unfortunate consequences going forward that you have to keep in mind. One of those being folks finding this as a how do you do fellow kids moment. That's how a majority of people I saw reacted to this joke, and I think that's mainly down to the reputation The Simpsons had at the time this gag happened. It was nowhere close to its heyday, and was still a good bit before the resurgence and acclaim it's had recently. And so a joke like this to many came off as less of a fun nod to internet culture and more of the show being so incapable of making a new funny joke that it had to instead rip one from an episode from 25 years prior. A joke that they're only bringing back because of its stance as an iconic meme. Like The Simpsons has had many jokes in the past about their place in pop culture, even having an entire episode serve as a metaphor for it where Bart becomes famous for uttering a single catchphrase that starts to get old after realizing that's all people see him as.
And now you can go back to just being you instead of a one-dimensional character with a silly catchphrase. Ay, caramba!
However, in cases like this, the joke always came off as the show making fun of itself, mocking how overly commercialized they had become. But the GIF gag, as I'll call it now, is instead the show embracing where it stands in pop culture, which in a lot of ways is great as it's a rare case of the series showing appreciation for its audience. But some may then see that as a desperate attempt of trying to remind people of why they even liked the damn thing in the first place. Another factor to consider is that a joke like this is a sort of one-and-done situation. Like in the future, you can't really reference this meme without it feeling like a lame attempt to try and get the same laugh again.
Because I rip our pants!
Okay, SpongeBob is actually a perfect case study to use here. You all know where this is going.
Help! Help! My leg! Can't you see we're closed?
I remember when they first made a gag acknowledging the My Leg guy. I thought it was so funny to see that the writers were aware of the people out there who picked up on this one recurring soundbite they would frequently use throughout the show.
My face! My face! Also my leg, but mostly my face!
In a way, it creates even more of a connection between the viewer and the show. As an audience member, you get a small little wink that the people involved in one of your favorite shows sees you. But then, they did it again.
My leg!
And again.
My legs!
And again.
My little leg!
To the point where they made an entire episode starring this fish, where 99% of his lines is just yelling, my leg. But you think that would be the end of it, you know, jokes retired, but no. They're still doing it in the show to this day. You know, the issue isn't that they're being meta, the issue isn't even that they're referencing a meme, it's that shoving something in your face over and over again is gonna get old. No matter what it is. You know, imagine if I stopped every video to say, did you see Brian in the thumbnail, guys? Did you see? It's like, okay, so the other day I was sitting at a pool in a hotel when I looked up to one of the room balconies and saw a kid standing there staring at us, and he was hitting the gritty. This is not made up. He was just standing there, grittying, for no apparent reason. Like any normal person, I thought this was hilarious, and so we cheered him on and clapped. And so as a response to that, he just kept grittying. Minutes upon minutes of grittying despite the cheers ending long ago. But no matter what reaction we were giving now, the praise given from that initial gritty had given him so much dopamine that he couldn't help but try and elicit the same reaction. The next day, while walking through the lobby, we saw the same kid, and upon seeing us, he just started grittying again. and we just couldn't entertain it. We couldn't risk it not stopping. That's what my leg is like to me now. It's an acknowledgement of something funny that got such a strong initial reaction that they can't help but do it over and over and over trying to get the same response. But that's just not something you can replicate. You can't force a meme, and you can't gritty for 10 minutes straight. After a while, it just gets uncomfortable and kinda sad. You know, I went to San Diego Comic-Con recently and saw them advertising SpongeBob's 25th anniversary. A big deal. But something I quickly began to notice is that every billboard, every building with his face plastered over it, was just the same couple memes pasted over and over. I just couldn't help but look at it and think, is this all SpongeBob is now to the masses? And then that got me thinking about The Simpsons. Like, at least SpongeBob had a good handful of memes to pick from, but with The Simpsons, despite having like 800 episodes with countless memes, Disney only ever wants to acknowledge the hedge. Why? Like in a shitty mobile game? Fine, who cares, have at it. Insert all the memes you want, that can be pure fan service. But it wasn't just sticking to the outside media. This hedge meme had gotten such a big response in that season 30 episode, for good or bad, that they just kept doing it for reasons I have no clue. I always wonder if it's purely coincidental. Like all these writers just so happen to come up with the same joke on their own, and each time it got enough of a laugh to stay in. Maybe it is that simple. But I don't know. When even Family Guy has resorted to doing your meme, then I think it's time to call it a day. And even they've done it multiple times. At a certain point, I have to be the one to say it. The joke isn't that funny. I mean, the only other gag I can even think of being repeated this much in The Simpsons would be with Sideshow Bob. One of the most iconic moments with him would have to be stepping on the rake. They've repeated this gag a few times in his semi-frequent reappearances, and it's okay. Sorta has that issue, again, where at a certain point it loses its impact and the joke is no longer him getting hit by the rake, but that you know he's gonna get hit by the rake. And I think that's gotta be the point when a joke has officially run its course, when it's expected of the show. As of recent, The Simpsons just released another one of those lame Disney Plus promotional videos starring Sideshow Bob this time, featuring the iconic Rick gag. However, this time they just flat out acknowledge how old it's gotten.
Tired gag.
Again, now that it's gotten to a point where you're deliberately referencing how unfunny it is, that's the bookend. You can't really do that joke again without it coming off as you intentionally doing a joke that you've openly admitted isn't funny anymore. Well, okay, I mean, they can do it and probably will continue to, but it just isn't gonna elicit any kind of reaction because it's expected, it's the norm. I mean, it's already happened. In this very same short where they acknowledge this, they do the damn joke again.
Tell me your worst fear.
You can't try to be so irreverent while simultaneously being so stuck in the past. Having this unwillingness to look past the nostalgia of how big The Simpsons was, and instead focus on what The Simpsons is now. I actually have the perfect example of this. In its most recent season, South Park had an episode all about ChatGPT, with the entire ending gag being that Matt and Trey just put into an actual AI, give our episode an ending. It's terribly contrived, nothing interesting happens, and everyone is seriously out of character. But something interesting I noticed while watching is that instead of actually telling jokes with the material it's been presented with, the AI instead starts to reuse old jokes that are synonymous with South Park. Jokes from like 15 to 20 years ago.
This student is going to jail for cheating. Drugs are bad, okay?
Like Mr. Mackey hasn't said drugs are bad in like a million years. But because it became such an iconic line for him when he did, that's all the robot can think to write. And it's moments like that which really made me appreciate how the show has continued to evolve instead of remaining stuck in the past with its gags. I think I wouldn't even have such a pet peeve with something like this if it weren't for the way the gag is presented each and every time. Like it's always the exact same joke where they have to grind things to a halt to announce that they're about to do the meme, and then they do the meme. And again, it's bizarre because this only really seems to be something that's happened after the Disney merger. In fact, the exact same year Disney bought Fox, this gag made its first reappearance. Now, I'm not gonna get conspiratorial and say that Disney are the ones pushing the staff to do this gag, in some sad attempt to rejuvenate interest in the show, but I don't know, it's weird, right? It just has this air of sadness around it. Like, instead of remaining as this quick little acknowledgement of the show's fan base, it's become all the show is to the company. Come to D23 and take a look at our The Simpsons booth, where you can recreate the Hedge meme. This whole set right here is actually what got me thinking about this whole trend. Because you know for a fact half the people taking these influencer photos don't give a shit about The Simpsons, they don't care about Homer or Marge or Liesel. They don't know The Simpsons, they just know the GIF. And then that got me thinking about a time when The Simpsons predicted the future. And not 9/11 or Trump becoming president. A time when The Simpsons predicted their own desperation. In the show's 34th season, not too long ago as a matter of fact, Treehouse of Horror 33 saw them do a parody of Westworld, where a Homer wakes up inside a Simpsons-themed amusement park, filled with references galore of all the show's most iconic moments. It's a really fun segment that I enjoyed a lot, but something interesting to note is that one of the attractions here is the visitors getting their chance to recreate the iconic Simpsons Hedge Meme. Sound familiar? Many onlookers push Homer into doing what's expected of him, pushing him into the hedge as he looks on, saddened. It's oddly poetic.
Meme! Meme! Meme!
To me, this is where the Hedge Meme should have died. It's one of those full circle moments. The Simpsons do a funny gag in 1994, it becomes a meme years later. Said meme becomes so huge that the show begins to reference it themselves, until they do it so much that it loses any and all impact it once had, resulting in one final moment where they address how old and tired it's gotten, how the joke has run its course. As Homer himself grabs two Simpsons fanatics and quite literally murders them in the hedge he is so often associated with.
So sick of that stupid head!
It would have been brilliant. And the worst part is, we almost got that. But instead, much like the Sideshow Bob Rick moment, they continue to do the joke with no real shakeup, still just acknowledging that they are indeed doing a meme. And I have to just assume that they'll continue to do this until the end of time. Or until they get cancelled, whichever comes first, really it could be either. Obviously, this isn't the biggest deal in the world. Also doesn't really say anything about the episodes that incorporate this joke into them. You know, it doesn't automatically ruin an episode for me or anything. More than likely just a few writers on the staff having fun, but after a while I do have to ask, who's still laughing at this? Who knows when the joke will die or if it ever will, but until then, I'm gonna at least live in denial and pretend that the joke ended here, because, really, it should have. I mean, if we're being real, it should have ended in 1994, but